The facts matter.
It's Boogaloo time. If we all stood together just one day, we could take this country back.
3 men who are sitting in jail here at CCDC had ties to the movement. The term Boogaloo is code for civil war. I talked to Nevada's regional director with the Anti-Defamation League. She told me what's called the Boogaloo movement is young but growing.
Unfortunately, the more divided we are, the more room they have for growth.
Jolie Brislin with the Anti-Defamation League told me protests and rallies are an opportunity for extremists to spread their message through violence. U.S. prosecutors say 3 Boogaloo extremists were heading to a protest in downtown Las Vegas on May 30th to do just that. The criminal complaint says Stephen Parshall, Andrew Linman Jr., and William Loomis filled up gas cans and made Molotov cocktails to take to the protest. They had ties to the Boogaloo movement, an anti-liberal, anti-government group that claims to promote violence and war between law enforcement and liberals.
Movements like the Boogaloo movement, which was an online movement, and that's where they really do their recruitment. Now they're having an opportunity to go into the real world and to recruit in real world time.
The criminal complaint said the 3 men were at a protest the day before they were arrested. Parshall allegedly tried to encourage violence by telling protesters that peaceful protests don't accomplish anything. The complaint also says the 3 men started planning back in April. The men allegedly planned to bomb a building near Lake Mead, a power substation, and wanted to cause chaos at Reopen Nevada protests by setting off fireworks and smoke bombs.
When the country is broken, it gives them an opportunity to come in and bring their ideas to fruition.
Brislin told me the ADL Center of Extremism, based out of New York City, monitors and tracks these groups, then gives that information to the FBI. She said she hopes the Boogaloo movement doesn't distract from the real movement of the protests.
Black Lives Matter! I just really think that the biggest thing right now is not to delegitimize what it is that we're all fighting for, what it is that the voice of the people are.
The 3 men are facing state and federal terrorism charges. Bail is set at $1 million for each of them. Reporting live, I'm Kyla Gaylor, Fox 5 News, local Las Vegas.
Good morning, everyone. Virgo here. It is the 3rd of August, 2020. And what you're watching on your screen is some information with regards to the movement, the Boogaloo Boys. They go by several other names, but primarily they run around wearing Hawaiian shirts and carrying loaded weapons. Now, the interesting thing about this group is that there's some, well, we'll call it flack that's coming back from them, where they want to try to confuse the actual political spectrum that they're on. Clearly, because of the weapons, they're not fully left, and clearly, because of their ideology, they are absolutely further right. But confusing that is something that creates concern across the board. I've been watching these groups long enough to know where these people lie, and they largely follow a lot of the SovCit ideology in addition. They're popping up all over the place, and lastly, that there's been a lot of attention on them has been in Canada. They are very widespread in the United States already. Showing up at places like any time that there's a protest, and they're absolutely against anything that has to do with the left. So that ought to give you an idea where they absolutely sit. They're to be watched. They have already killed several police officers, and there are many other people that they've done damage to. There was most recently in May a televised funeral of a police officer that had a lot of information with regards to this movement on the news. So we need to be watching closely. What their Boogaloo statement means is civil war, as you heard. And they want to take over this country and potentially yours. The footage you're watching right now is actually being reported on in Australia. So we're not just talking about the United States. We are talking about Canada. We're talking about the UK. And we are, of course, lastly talking about Australia thus far. Recently, in the Las Cruces Sun News, a DA actually called out the Boogaloos as an illegal vigilante group. They're calling them extreme because they are. They are very well planned in what they do a lot of times. And even though they call them loosely organized, the truth is they have been much more organized than a lot of the other groups that we have had to follow in the past to ensure that we're watching what they're doing. The Bernalillo County District Attorney has called them a public nuisance and is seeking a court injunction against them that will prevent the group from organizing and operating within the borders of New Mexico as an unauthorized armed force, as that's what they're attempting to try to call themselves. The New Mexico Civil Guard has gained notoriety this year for maintaining an armed presence, often donning military fatigues, at recent political demonstrations around the state, including several denouncing police violence and solidarity with Black Lives Matter. Early in June, however, the group appeared at a vigil in Las Cruces, telling reporters that they were there to guard the vigil against out-of-town provocateurs. Also presented were armed men identifying themselves as members of the Boogaloo Boys, part of a loosely organized anti-government group, some of whose members embrace the notion of armed conflict with the government or starting a civil war. On June 15th, the New Mexico Civil Guard was present at a protest where a group attempted to remove a statue honoring Spanish conquistadors near Albuquerque's Old Town and Stephen Ray Baca. A counter-protester who is not evidently a member of the NMCG was captured on video assaulting protesters and after being chased away shooting and critically wounding Scott Williams. On Thursday, KRQE-TV reported that the group plans to run candidates for sheriff in Bernalillo, Santa Fe, and Dona Ana counties against incumbents they described as unconstitutional sheriffs. All right, now I'm going to link this article in the description of this video. But let me talk to you for just a moment. If you recall, on the Virgo Triad channel, we've been following for about the last year and a half all of the different individuals, we'll call them, that are off on their ideology in the fringe, that are running for things like sheriff, governor, mayor, and of course for Congress. They have checkered histories, and they clearly have issues in their past with crimes. They speak like militants, and they are part of groups like this. Now, we need to be keeping a special close eye on these individuals because, as I've shown you, they're starting to, some of them, make it into office. If you want a group like this running your city or town, I don't want to know you, because this is how we get things like kangaroo courts and hangings from trees. All right, everyone, please take a look at the link in the description below, and I hope you enjoyed this video. It is for educational purposes only, and I want to make sure everyone is aware that this is a new group that's out there, and they're much better organized than the SovCits have ever been. All right, everyone, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.